Hello everyone and welcome to the Fly Racing GNCC post-race show here on digitaloffroad.com, coming to you from the Penton GNCC in Millfield, Ohio. I'm your host Jason Hooper, going to give you a call of the action. You know, Penton GNCC, the last round before we go on summer break, and it felt like summertime at the track with temperatures in the 90s, humidity way up there. You know, riders were doing everything they could to stay cool. Umbrella girls and guys out there to keep them cool. Photographers and videographers sweating their butts off trying to, bring you guys some coverage. And we got Corey Buttrick there, who won last year, his first ever XC1 Pro race win, and Josh Strang there, who finished second last year. Charlie Mullins, who hasn't had much luck at his home state race in a while, looking to get back into the points lead here at the Penton. Here we go for the start. And immediately it was Ampro Yamaha's Paul Whibley jumping out to a lead with FMF KTM's Caleb Russell behind him. And here we got Jimmy Jarrett that came in a little hot to the second turn, caused a little bit of a crash and pile up. Jimmy was able to get back going, but ended up running into some issues himself later in the day. In the XC2 Pro Lights class, we see some two smokers getting off there early. And it looked like it was going to be Stuart Baylor getting the whole shot, I think, and then it ended up being Shane O'Banion going for that money from motorsport.com, taking out some banners with him, but he got his $100, so that was good. We'll jump out here into the woods. First time we saw the leaders, we got Paul Whibley out front with Caleb Russell in second, Nate Canny up in third, Corey Buttrick fourth, Charlie Mullins, Josh Strang, then Nick Farringer on the 300 two-stroke Husaberg, followed by another two-stroke of Russell Bobbitt visiting from the National Enduro Series. Then in XC2, we had Jesse Robinson jumping out to an early lead, but he had a bunch of guys behind him. Jordan Ashburn going fast. I think that's Andrew DeLong, Jason Thomas, Stuart Baylor. A lot of guys, even Morgan Moss up there early, putting in a good ride. Then onto the moto track at the end of the first lap, we had Paul Whibley leading Caleb Russell still, with Corey Buttrick, Mullins, and Strang coming through the moto track. And the moto track would end up being, a big part of the race today. We saw a lot of passing. There were some jump combinations that guys could do, and then some guys weren't doing on the first lap. And as the race progressed, we kept seeing the same guys up front. We saw Mullins make a move up, Corey Buttrick, Strang, and Russell, with Thad Duvall in tow, started making a little bit of a break from Chris Bach and Nate Canny. Those two riders kept them honest for a while, and then Bach ended up having a big crash. Courtney ended up having to drop back, go back to the pits, and get his bike fixed. But as you can see, throughout the race, the action was pretty intense for how hot it was. And but it was Paul Whibley, just staying consistent, staying out front, keeping the guys honest. And, when Paul gets out front, everybody knows that he's hard to beat. But when you got guys like Charlie and Caleb and Corey, with the speed and, Strang getting into the mix as well, it's not going to be easy on them. And with the heat, what it was, it was tough to see what we were going to do about the laps. They ended up calling the race at a 5-lap race because the second lap was so long. And there was a chance that they were going to go very well past the 3-hour mark, and with the heat conditions, it just wasn't a good idea. And as you can see here, Caleb Russell and Paul Whibley just going at it on the moto track. And as I said, the moto track would be a huge part of the day. You see Caleb making a pass on that infield step up. And here we're coming into the last lap. Paul had grabbed the lead again. Things had kind of spaced out. Caleb back into second. Strang into third. Had gotten around Buttrick, who was still in fourth at this point. Here comes Charlie Mullins in fifth. With just a few miles to go, Caleb Russell was able to grab the lead, coming back onto the moto track again, coming into this final jump section. And here goes Paul Whibley, jumping double, single, past Caleb Russell, just a few hundred feet from the finish. And that was pretty much all she wrote. As I said, came down to the moto track again. Caleb Russell, heartbreaker, gets past at the finish, and here comes Josh Strang and Charlie Mullins, who were both able to get around Corey Buttrick to round out the podium. All right, let's take a look here at the XC1 Pro Class results. So we got Paul Whibley, Caleb Russell, and Josh Strang taking the top three, with Charlie Mullins, Corey Buttrick rounding out the top 5. Then we had Thad Duvall, Nate Caney, Rory Mead, Russell Bobbitt, and Nick Farringer rounding out the top 10. Let's take a look at the XC1 Pro Class points after this last round going into the break. We see Josh Strang still holding on to a 14-point lead now over Charlie Mullins. He extended that by 3. Paul Whibley's now within 11 points of Charlie Mullins and 25 of Strang. Then we got a tight little battle here going on for the 4th, 5th, 6th spot. We got Nate Caney at 111 points and Corey Buttrick only 1 point behind him, and then Russell only 2 points behind him as well. Then Chris Bach in 7th. Mike Lafferty holding on to 8th in the class, even though he hasn't raced the last 2 rounds. Jimmy Jarrett 9th, Thad Duvall into 10th. In the XC2 Pro Lights class, we saw Pro Yamaha's Jordan Ashburn finally getting a win, finally getting that awesome finish. You know, we saw him so close at the Big Buck GNCC, going down just a few turns from the finish, battling with Stuart Baylor, and he was able to get his win over Jesse Robinson and Jason Thomas, who had a bad race at Snowshoe, getting back onto the podium. And it was Stuart Baylor battling an ankle injury still, getting 4th, Andrew DeLong 5th, Scotty Watkins 6th. Good ride for Morgan Moss in 7th, Zach Nolan 8th, Nick Davis 9th, and Ted Mullins in 10th. In the XC2 Pro Lights points, Stuart Baylor, even though that 4th place finish, he's still holding over a little over a 1-race lead over Jason Thomas in 2nd. And we got a tight race there going for 3rd and 4th between the privateer KTM's Andrew DeLong and Jesse Robinson. Now Jordan Ashburn with the win, sneaking back into the points race a little bit. Then it's Scotty Watkins, Brad Bakken, who's injured and won't be back for the rest of the year. Then Morgan Moss, Shane O'Banion, and Zach Smith. That pretty much wraps it up from the John Penton GNCC. We'll see you guys at the Unadilla race in September. That'll be the next GNCC post-race show that you'll be able to catch. So have a good summer break. Enjoy yourselves, and we'll see you at Unadilla.